The Christmas season, the world's favorite time of the year. When every house in the neighborhood is decked with strings of beautifully colored lights that reflect off the fresh white snow on the ground, making it incredibly difficult for me to sleep when I have to get up for work at 5 in the morning. Children all around the world become excited in anticipation for Santa Claus, hoping that their bratty asses didn't end up on the naughty list. But let's face it, none of them did. Parents have gone soft. Go big or go home. Fill your children's stockings with lumps of coal. Nothing is going to stop you. It's Christmas Eve, the night before the Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus and ruined Joseph's life. Eventually, Jesus would come to sacrifice himself for humanity and all of our sins. Was it worth it, Jesus? Everything you did led up to this moment right here. It's a rather quiet evening at Wacky's Wonders. All the clowns plus Mia and Liam are gathered in the lounge, enjoying each other's company. Crouchy and Mia are sitting in the back corner of the room playing with some toys by the Christmas tree. Meanwhile, Wacky, Wally, Hugs, Swirls, Charlie, and Liam are all sitting at the round table, playing a friendly game of Uno. Charlie looked up from his cards and over at Liam.
Oh shit, what the fuck? You're alive again. That's cool. When did that happen?
I have no idea. The scene just started.
Oh yeah, good point. Hey, whose turn is it anyway?
Mine!
Wacky exclaimed. A blue 3 laid upon the table. Wacky had only 3 cards remaining and was in the lead. Wacky slammed a +4 onto the deck.
The color will now be red.
Swirls, who was the recipient of this +4 bullshit, did not take this very kindly.
God fucking damn it, Wacky. You can't keep doing this to me. I've had enough.
Swirls pulled out his revolver and shot Wacky in the chest 4 times.
You'll have to try harder than that, bozo. They wouldn't kill me off that easily. They didn't hesitate the first time,
Swirls said as he reached behind him, materializing a bottle of booze out of thin air and taking a swig.
Yeah, well, I'm invincible this time around, so who gives a shit?
Swirls swallowed his pride and drew 4 more cards.
Well, I suppose it's my turn,
Wally said with disdain as he looked up from his book, which Cal probably did not include in the illustration. In fact, Josh forgot to tell Cal that they were playing Uno.
All right. Done,
Wally said as he placed a random card onto the deck.
What the hell, dude? Your voice has been inconsistent in the past, but what the fuck?
What do you mean?
Can you not hear yourself?
And
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Charlie exclaimed as Hugs spoke in reverse.
Charlie, he's always spoken like this.
I don't remember that. Well, I'm also sitting right next to Liam, So why am I surprised?
Charlie turned around to look at Crouchy and Mia.
How you guys doing over there?
Why, thank you for asking, Charlie. I'm swell. How are you?
Crouchy spoke.
Oh my god.
Charlie turned around without answering. Suddenly the evening was interrupted when they heard a knock at the door. Everyone turned their head to the door.
Who the hell could that be? It's Christmas Eve, and we've been closed all day. And how did they manage to get into the speedway? Hey, that rhymed.
Wacky got up from the table and walked over to the speedway door. Telepathically grabbing his hammer from across the room like Thor, he inched the door open.
Hey guys, it's me, Buster Brandy. I heard you guys were doing a Christmas Eve special, and well,
Intruder!
Wacky yelled as he pointed at the man at the door. Charlie, Swirls, and Hugs sprang up from the table and ran to the door. Surrounding Buster Brandy, they all wore evil smiles and hyper-realistic bloodshot eyes, which were not featured in the illustration. Intimidated, Buster Brandy spoke.
Hey, I didn't mean to cause any trouble now here. I'm just...
Tell us why you're here.
Wacky said.
Yeah, tell us.
Swirl said as he showed off his revolver.
How did you get into the speedway?
Guys, please, I swear, I just...
Don't worry, friends, I invited him. It's nice to see you again, Buster.
Crouchy said from the corner of the room.
Hey, Crouch! It's been so long! Sorry for the trouble, guys. I thought he would have told you ahead of time.
Okay, well, I guess you're fine. Come on in, bitch.
Hey, thanks, Wacky. I'm a big fan, by the way. Can I have your autograph, perhaps?
Take it from me, dude, that is not gonna end well. Liam chimed in from the table.
Is it just me, or has tonight been kind of weird so far?
What do you mean, Charlie? Everything feels fine to me.
Wacky reassured Charlie. Buster took it upon himself to sit down at the table whilst Wacky and Charlie were talking.
Well, maybe it's just me then. Just thought tonight's been a little weird so far. But it's not a big deal.
Well, maybe it's the way you're being written.
What the fuck does that mean?
Here, I'll show you.
Wacky held up his hammer and swung it as hard as he could into the floor. A whole section of the floor collapsed, causing a cloud of dust to accumulate in the air. Through the hole in the floor, Charlie could see a team of people, all sitting in front of computers.
What?
See that one guy that kind of looks like Jesus? That's Josh, and his soundproof basement. He technically is God.
Well, I suppose you could put it that way. But yes, I am the creator and writer of this series, so technically yes, I suppose I am God in a way.
See, Charlie? Tell him about the other guys, Josh.
Alright, well, this right here is Sador. He's the main narrator, as well as my proofreader. He also voices a lot of characters, like most of you guys.
Sador was an amazingly handsome skeletal figure, with a voice so magnificent you shouldn't even be allowed to hear it without paying for it first. He's easily the best on the team, without a doubt. Long live Sador, the best narrator who ever lived.
This other dude is Cal. He's the main artist. This will be his last project with us, however, and we'll miss him. But if any of you clowns want to give a go at it, the spot's open. Next to him we have Aidan, easily the most unhinged. He animates the illustrations, and if we don't keep him chained to the wall and his mouth duct taped shut, he'll probably be the one that gets us cancelled. Not because he's racist or anything, but just because he's really fucking weird. But granted, we all are, so what am I saying? Then over here is Andrew. He's the creator of Dead by Dawn. He provides a lot of our music, mainly just for $20.99 though, as opposed to Wacky's. It's really good. Then recently we actually just added 2 more people to the roster. We have a second artist now, Anthony, who's responsible for Buster Brandy, who you probably know by now. And finally we have Sardonyx. He's our second composer, and he composes a number of ambient tracks for us now, including the ones in this story.
Thanks again, guys. We wouldn't be here without you.
Wacky said, as he simply reassembled the floor with his mind.
I don't even know what to say. Hugs, just stop talking. We can't understand you. Shut up, Hugs.
Charlie rolled his eyes and walked away from Hugs, returning to the table which now featured Buster Brandy. Sitting down, he looked at a clock on the wall, noting that it was 11:55, almost midnight, which meant that it would soon be Christmas. All of a sudden, Spider-Man crawled out of an air duct, which they had never had until it was convenient for this joke.
Holy shit, it's Spider-Man!
Wacky said.
Hey Liam, look! The Make-A-Wish Foundation did something nice for you! Ha!
Swirls said as he took a huge gulp of liquor. That's real funny, Swirls. I peed in that bottle, by the way. Swirls' eyes widened. He pulled out his revolver and shot himself. How many times has he used that gun for a joke? Liam asked.
A lot. Gun violence is funny.
Wally spoke, continuing to read his book.
Isn't this wonderful? It's the night before Christmas, and everyone's having so much fun. I don't think we've ever had a Christmas this eventful before. First Buster Brandy, now Spider-Man. Who's next? Obama?
There was a knock at the door to the lounge. Wacky Mole levitated off the ground and floated over to the door. He ripped the door off its hinges with his bare hands.
My fellow Americans, it's me, Obama. Wacky Mole, it's been years. How are you doing? Look, Michelle, I told you he was real.
Barack? It's been years! Oh my god, am I going crazy again? Or is this actually you? Please, come have a seat. Oh, and hello, Michelle. You look lovely tonight.
What the fuck is happening?
Something in Charlie's mind was starting to nag at him that something here just wasn't right.
Wacky, I know it's a day early, but, look, I got you a Christmas gift.
Obama held out a Rolex watch in front of Wacky.
Oh my god, it's a watch. This is probably because of that one scene in Encore where I looked at my watch to check the time, but it turns out I didn't have a watch.
That's exactly it, buddy.
Hey, Obama, how you doing tonight?
Buster Brandy. I'm such a huge fan. Look, Michelle, it's Buster Brandy.
As conversation continued between Obama and Buster Brandy, Charlie leaned over to Wally to ask him a question.
Don't you find this kind of weird?
No, Charlie, not really. Please don't bother me. I'm trying to read the Quran.
Oh. Sorry.
As Charlie thought of what to say next, it had occurred to him that he had not heard from Crouchy or Mia in a while. Turning around to check, he noticed that they were gone. In fact, the entire back half of the room no longer existed. It was a pitch-black void.
What the fuck?
He turned around to face the table. Wacky, Hugs, Wally, and Liam were still there. However, all the guests had disappeared, and so had Swirls' body.
What's happening?
Oh, would you look at that? It's 11:58. Almost Christmas.
The maroon walls of the lounge were being swallowed by a foreboding, infinite darkness. Soon, only the table was left, and they were all encompassed by an empty void. Charlie looked around at the other clowns, who were now looking at him.
Mr. Stanson, this can keep him for. Siams, you are. Now, snap in the room, so one is need. Cinema books and prospect.
Charlie, I think you are starting to remember.
I guess I'm not the only one going crazy again, huh?
You guys are scaring me.
Said of the Uzi, says you can't see. Naked piece is not a win. There's him now, if you don't have one. You don't say that Laura will very miss this opposite. Laura will very miss the Medicia.
You've got to stop doing this every night, Charlie. It's a waste of energy. Everything is in the past. Why haven't you accepted that?
It's 11:59. Almost time.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Charlie felt his head spinning. What had just been something so pleasant had transformed into a nightmare. It's your fault I died, you know.
Liam, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Oh, God.
Charlie started to shake.
Aren't you excited, Charlie?
Charlie could hear his heart pound louder and louder as he watched the minute hand on the clock come back around. It was almost Christmas. He began to hear voices around him, whispers, voices from the past.
Stop! Please, stop!
Charlie shouted as he covered his ears. Looking ahead of him, eyes manifested in the void, staring back at him. Black tentacles began to emerge from the darkness, coming towards Charlie. As Charlie watched in fear, he suddenly felt pressure on his body. Everyone else left in the room was holding him in place, with Wally, Hugs, and Liam restraining his body, while Wacky gripped Charlie's head, making him face the eyes and tentacles. The clock struck midnight.
Merry Christmas, Charlie.
Charlie screamed as he swiftly sat up in his bed, clutching his comforter. Breathing heavily, he could feel his heart beating out of his chest. Wiping sweat off his forehead, he realized his bed was practically drenched in it, as was his clothing. He was wearing a white uniform that bore Nova's insignia, along with an ID number. Charlie tossed his bedding off of him, turning himself to the edge of the bed and lowering his legs to the ground. Looking around his containment cell, he observed his surroundings, as he had done for many, many years now. Nothing has changed. The same old dull, colorless walls. His cell was fitted with a desk and a chair that he used for writing solemn reflections. His bed, which he was sitting on, a toilet, and a sink with a mirror mounted above. Looking at the mirror from his bed, he didn't want to get up and confront his reflection. He knew he wouldn't like what he would see. Charlie is an old man, a shell of his former self, lacking the life and energy he used to have. What little was left has been completely extinguished. Charlie had lost his metabolism, as older folks do, resulting in a bulbous belly. Not only bigger, Charlie now also had health issues due to lack of care. His fingernails are turning black. For what reason, he doesn't know. The doctors won't do anything, but his hands ache. Charlie misses his old self and his old way of life, even if he really only lived for a few years before being contained. Everyone he loved was now gone. Wally succumbed to exposure from being tested on. The details are gray. Wally was the most successful specimen out of the cast produced for Wackies. After being contained, he was subjected to extensive research, with the main goal being that of understanding his sexual traits, and why he was the only one with instinct for reproduction. More intriguing to Nova was how he was also sexually perverted, a bewildering trait that no one can seemingly wrap their mind around. It's an ongoing debate whether Wally could be truly considered successful or an outright failure. It seems that years upon years of scans, tests, and research on his brain finally resulted in major damage, which was deemed irreversible. However, Charlie is not allowed to know anything. All he knows is that he's gone. It's been a few years without him. Despite their hardships, they had become close over time. Charlie never forgave Wally for some of his actions, but in their borderline solitary confinement lifestyle, Wally was the only one he could really talk to. After his passing, Crouchy was the only light in Charlie's life, the only thing that kept a little bit of his old self alive. The big guy passed on just about a month ago, completely destroying Charlie's world. Crouchy, so old and large, could barely stand up or hold his own weight. Fortunately, he passed naturally. Out of everyone to receive a peaceful death, he was deserving of it the most. If only he didn't have to suffer the whole way through. Charlie wishes he could have done more for him. But not all is bad for Charlie. Recently, he had made his first friend in the facility, an officer who liked to be referred to as Mr. Right, although they're on a first-name basis now. His name is Lawrence. Previously, when Charlie had to be escorted from place to place around the facility, a guard would accompany him as he walked restrained in shackles. The guards would sport heavy combat gear and protection to ensure their safety in place of power over the subject. However, for the past few months, Charlie's security guard was replaced. Lawrence was the new guy, taking the position of Charlie's previous guard. Whether he quit, was fired, or simply was assigned to another task was unclear. When dealing with prisoners or sentient subjects of inhuman nature, they were never allowed to make conversation with the prisoner. The only communication allowed was that of force, verbal and physical assault to intimidate the subject. This was abused quite a bit in the past, but Lawrence broke this mold. Shortly after Crouchy died, he began to speak to Charlie, sincerely and with respect. They don't speak too much, but occasionally he'll stop by Charlie's cell from time to time, and they exchange words whenever Charlie has to be escorted to another section of the building. It meant a lot to him that at least one person would talk to him. Charlie broke his train of thought by looking at his cell door. It was an automatic door that slid open and closed when activated. Towards the top barred window, Charlie could see through. Every day he thinks of what it would be like to be set free, but he knows it will never happen. He looked at his desk. Atop the desk was his spiral notebook, as well as a pen. Charlie used this to ease his mind. Sitting in a pool of cold sweat, Charlie slowly got up and stretched. He made his way over to his desk and sat down in the chair, opening to the last few pages of the notebook, which had not been filled out.
Damn, only a few left. Gonna have to request another soon.
He spoke under his breath. He had completed many journals in the past, all of which he keeps under his bed. Every now and then they have to be confiscated to be sure that he isn't conspiring against the facility again. Charlie sighed as he picked up his pen, preparing to make his next entry.
I had a dream about them again. Everyone was there in the lounge, and I mean everyone. Faces I don't even know. This is by far one of the wildest dreams I've ever had, but I'm not gonna dwell on the batshit crazy stuff. I saw the Christmas tree. Everything was decorated. I guess it makes sense I dreamt of this specifically. Lawrence told me it's December. I have no clue when Christmas is, but I haven't had a clue ever. Time is just a blur. I remember the few Christmases we had together at Wacky's. It was always a very special time of year. Of course, being that we couldn't really go out and get gifts, we just had to make do. I remember one year I stole a couple of bottles of booze from Hugs and Swirls and just shittily wrapped them up in paper and put them under the tree. I did the same with Wacky's hammer too, although in hindsight, that was a terrible idea. He went crazy and tore up the place looking for it. I had to give it to him early, so he got no Christmas present that year. Wally was easy. I would just steal books from some dumbass moms who would rather read than watch their children. Then come Christmas, I gave Wally those books. He was a big reader. Crouchy was similar. I used to steal stuffed animals and toys from children when they weren't paying attention. Typically, I'd find the stuff laying around in a stroller or something. Come to think of it, I was the only one who ever even gave gifts. I wish Mia was around for one of our Christmas celebrations. I would have done something special for her. God knows what's happened to her or where she is now. She's either living life outside of here with a family and friends, or she's still stuck in this facility with me. I've asked time and time again, but they never tell me, and I don't know why. Sometimes I wonder if what we did was a mistake. It was my fault it ended up this way. I remember after the fire, wandering the forest that night. I had considered killing myself, but I had no way of trying. I surrendered myself that morning. Sometimes, I wish I had just never come out of the trees. I could have died out there, and it probably would have been better than this. Although, finding out Crouchy was still alive after I had been contained was a huge relief. It made me feel so much better about what I did. Had he been alone in this facility for all that time without me, I hate thinking about it. Oh yeah, and Wally too, I guess. I feel numb writing this. For being artificial, our emotions were powerful and real. I guess we really were no different from humans, aside from our physical appearances. I'm just rambling now. What else is new? Oh, I haven't written about this yet. Recently, these bastards have been up to something weird. Every now and then, the facility experiences these tremors, I guess. It shakes the whole fucking ground and it's really irritating. I asked Lawrence about it. He doesn't know anything about it. All he knows is that the project is apparently big, and whatever is causing those tremors is a huge deal. Let's hope it's more successful than the Artificial Life Project. Fuckers. They deserve the worst. I love that I can express my undying hatred and malice for Nova in these journals now that Lawrence is the one confiscating them. Hey dude, how's it hanging? Fuck your employers. Love, Charlie.
Charlie closed the notebook.
Heh, he'll get a kick out of that.
Charlie sat at his desk, thinking about the past. He felt nothing in his heart anymore, except for emotions he never liked to feel. Charlie was nihilistic, bitter, and angry. He was depressed, and at times he found himself in anguish over the past.
God,
he said under his breath as he stood up from his desk. As he stood, a large rumble shook the facility. Another tremor. Charlie stormed to his cell door.
For the love of God, will you shut the fuck up? It's the middle of the night.
He yelled as he pounded his fist against the metal door. He angrily walked over to his bed, letting out a sigh of annoyance. Sitting down, he felt another tremor, then another, then another, then another, back to back.
What the hell?
He said with a confused look on his face. This many in the same day, in a row, back to back, was not normal. All of a sudden, the largest tremor Charlie had felt hit the facility and shook the building like an earthquake. Following this, the facility lost power and the emergency lighting activated. Charlie stood up in a panic. An alarm started to blare, accompanied with flashing lights that Charlie could see through the metal bars on his door. The intercom boomed to life with a frantic voice.
This is Dr. Volkman of Sector A Research Wing C-17 through E-22. We are evacuating the building now. This is not a drill. We'll be sending guards to evacuate the staff as well as contain subjects in the safe containment zones. Employees, make your way to the nearest exit. Subjects, remain in your cells. A guard will be with you shortly. Do not panic. We're trying to get this under control as fast as we can.
The lack of composure the doctor displayed was frightening and did nothing to ease Charlie's panic. Charlie rushed over to his door.
Hey! Hello? Anyone? What the fuck is going on?
He said as he shook the bars on his door. He could hear the other subjects in the distant cells down the hallway yelling and banging on their doors. All of a sudden, another tremor struck, this time cutting the power completely for a good 6 seconds, leaving everything pitch black. But Charlie quickly realized that the automatic door had now opened due to the power outage. Quickly, he slipped out of the cell and into the pitch black hallway. The lights came back on, and all the cell doors closed upon the power being reactivated. The intercom came on once more.
There has been a containment breach. If you find yourself out in the open, find the nearest shelter or exit immediately. Do not stand out in the open. I repeat, do not.
It cut off again. A few other inmates had slipped out in time, all human test subjects. Quickly, the others bolted down the hall in Charlie's direction, eager to escape. However, Charlie heard winded groans and muffles of a voice down the hall. Another inmate who had tried to escape had waited too late to exit and found himself crushed in between the automatic door and the wall.
Oh my God!
Charlie said as he ran over to the man. Blood ran down the walls as he was stuck, pinned to the wall. Life drained from his eyes as his chest had been crushed. Clearly, there was no helping this man.
Fuck. Oh God.
Charlie frantically uttered as he thought of anything he could potentially do to save the man, but everything was futile. Charlie began to run down the hall in the same direction as the others did. Going far enough, the hallway turned into a catwalk that overlooked offices below with cubicles and desks. But no people.
Hello? Is anyone down there? There's a medical emergency up here, and all these other people need out.
Charlie got no response.
God damn it!
Charlie exclaimed as he thought of his next decision. He was interrupted by a terrifying noise in the distance. A screech, or some sort of shrill, penetrated the air throughout the facility. Looking to his right back down the hall Charlie came, he saw something emerge from the darkness down the hallway. A large mass moving down the hall, and it was coming fast.
Shit!
Charlie screamed as he ran in the other direction. Behind him, he could hear deafening shrieks and the sound of the creature swiftly moving around. It sounded heavy, Charlie came to the next door, which led to the next portion of the facility, but it required a key card to open.
No! No!
Charlie turned around with the intent of running back to the catwalk. His only option was to jump below and continue on that way. As he turned around, he noticed the creature became infatuated with the sounds of the screaming inmates locked in their cells, tearing through their doors with brute force and consuming people in its path. He took this as an opportunity to hop the guardrail and drop to the floor below. He injured himself upon landing. His old joints didn't receive the force well. Getting up and stumbling in pain, he looked around and spotted another door in the distance. Approaching the door, he let out a shriek of pure pain as his right knee gave out and he dropped to the floor. Above him, he could hear its weight stomping on the catwalk. Its black tentacles began to reach below the catwalk, coming down like stalactites. Eventually, its whole body came crashing down to the lower level, where it repositioned itself and stood tall. Looking up, Charlie saw its eyes staring back into his. Charlie laid in fear as he couldn't bring himself to move. Its skin-like covering split down the middle and revealed its black, inescapable chasm. Charlie could do nothing as it came for him. The creature let out a cry as it swallowed him in its infinite darkness.
When the hell is that stupid fucking Wacky's Wonders special coming out, or whatever?
I don't know. Beats me.
Ahoy! Yes!
What is going on?
Shut the fucking up! Ha, you smack! I know what the fuck sucks! Ha sir! I big...
What?
No, you dumb bitch! How about the fucking friends with me? Shit.
Watch Hugs Times this holiday season.